Imagine waking up one morning and realizing you're no longer yourself. You're in a completely different body, in a completely different place, and the person you're supposed to be is living your life somewhere else. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what happens to two teenagers who have never even met each other. One lives in a quiet Japanese town surrounded by mountains. The other lives in the crowded streets of Tokyo. And somehow, fate decides to connect their lives in the strangest way possible. This is the story of Mitsuha and Taki, and their story is about love, time, loss, and two people desperately trying to find each other, even when the universe itself seems determined to keep them apart. Mitsuha Miyamizu is a high school girl living in the small rural town of Itomori, and honestly, she's getting tired of it. Her town is peaceful, but to Mitsuha, peaceful basically means boring. She hates the gossip, the traditional expectations, and especially the fact that everyone seems to know everyone else's business. So one day, she looks toward the sky and makes a strange wish. She wishes that in her next life, she could be reborn as a handsome boy living in Tokyo. And considering what happens next, someone might have actually been listening. Because soon after that, Mitsuha wakes up in a completely unfamiliar bedroom. At first, she has no idea what's going on. Then she looks down and realizes she's inside a boy's body. Meanwhile, somewhere in Tokyo, a boy named Taki Tachibana wakes up and discovers that he's inside Mitsuha's body. Neither of them understands what's happening, and naturally, their first reaction is basically, what the hell is going on? But after some confusion, embarrassment, and a lot of awkward moments, they realize something impossible. They're switching bodies. Not permanently, just on certain days. Mitsuha wakes up as Taki. Taki wakes up as Mitsuha, and by the time they go to sleep, they return to their own bodies. At first, both of them are completely overwhelmed. Taki suddenly has to attend school as Mitsuha. Mitsuha has to survive Tokyo as Taki, and neither of them has any idea how the other person's life works. So they come up with a simple solution. They leave messages for each other, sometimes on paper, sometimes on their phones, and sometimes they literally write reminders on their own skin. Basically, they're forced to become roommates inside each other's bodies. And despite all the chaos, something surprisingly funny begins to happen. Mitsuha starts changing Taki's life, and Taki starts changing hers. When Mitsuha is in Taki's body, she discovers his life in Tokyo. It's loud, it's crowded, and completely different from her quiet hometown. Taki also has a part-time job at a restaurant, where he works alongside an older co-worker named Miki Okudera. And Mitsuha immediately notices something. Taki has a crush on Okudera. So when Mitsuha gets control of his body, she decides to help him. She starts arranging things between Taki and Okudera, basically pushing him toward the girl he likes. But Taki is doing something for Mitsuha too. Back in Itomori, Mitsuha isn't exactly popular at school. So Taki starts behaving differently while he's in her body. He becomes more confident. He helps her deal with her classmates. And somehow, Mitsuha's social life starts improving. The more they switch bodies, the more they begin understanding each other. At first, they're just annoyed by the situation. But slowly, they start becoming part of each other's lives. And that's where things get interesting. Because Mitsuha isn't just an ordinary girl. Her family has an ancient connection to a shrine in the town. One day, while Taki is living as Mitsuha, he accompanies her grandmother Hitoha and her younger sister Yatsuha to a sacred place known as the Goshintai. There, they leave behind something called kuchika mizaki, a traditional fermented drink connected to Mitsuha's family's rituals. To Taki, it all seems strange. But Hitoha explains something that sticks with him. She talks about the mysterious connections between people, and how time itself may not move as simply as humans think. At the time, Taki doesn't realize how important those words are going to become. Meanwhile, something enormous is approaching Earth. A comet called Tiamat is expected to pass extremely close to the planet, and the people of Itomori are excited. The town is preparing for a festival. For Mitsuha, it should be a beautiful night, but she has no idea that this comet is about to change everything. Around the same time, Taki finally gets his chance to go on a date with Okudera, and while the date goes well, Okudera notices something strange. Taki doesn't seem completely focused on her. His mind keeps drifting towards someone else, someone he can't even explain, and eventually, Taki realizes the truth. He doesn't actually know why, but he has started developing feelings for Mitsuha. The problem? He can't reach her anymore. The body switching suddenly stops. No warning. No explanation. Nothing. Taki keeps trying to contact Mitsuha. He checks his phone. He waits. He calls. But there's no answer.
And then,
he notices something even stranger. The messages Mitsuha left behind are disappearing. It's almost as if she never existed. Taki refuses to accept that. If Mitsuha is real, then he has to find her. So he grabs Okudera and his friend Tsukasa, and travels into the countryside to search for her. Taki doesn't know exactly where Mitsuha lives. He doesn't even remember the name of her town, but he remembers what it looks like. So he draws the town from memory, and eventually, a ramen shop owner recognizes it.
the place is Itomori.
Taki finally reaches the town, but instead of finding Mitsuha waiting for him, he finds ruins. The entire town has been destroyed. Taki is completely confused. Then he learns the horrifying truth. The comet Tiamat passed over Itomori, and a fragment broke away. It crashed directly into the town. Thousands of people were affected. Hundreds were killed. And among the victims was Mitsuha Miyamizu. Taki can't believe it, because as far as he's concerned, he was talking to Mitsuha only days ago. Then he discovers something even more disturbing. The disaster happened 3 years earlier. Taki lives in 2016, but Mitsuha lived in 2013. The girl he's been communicating with has been living 3 years in the past. Taki wasn't simply switching bodies with someone far away. He was switching bodies with someone 3 years before his own time.
And Mitsuha?
She was supposed to die. Taki begins desperately trying to remember her. But the more he tries, the more Mitsuha's existence starts slipping away from him. Her face becomes harder to remember.
Her voice becomes distant.
Even her name begins disappearing from his mind. And Taki realizes that if he doesn't do something soon, he may forget her completely. So he returns to the sacred shrine in the mountains. Remembering Hitoha's words, he drinks Mitsuha's kuchikamizaki. And suddenly, everything changes.
Taki collapses
And begins seeing Mitsuha's memories. He sees her childhood,
Her family, her mother, her grandmother, her little sister. He sees her life,
and finally understands how much she had been searching for him too. Then Taki sees something that breaks his heart. Before they ever properly met, Mitsuha had actually traveled all the way to Tokyo. She had been looking for him. The same person who had been appearing in her dreams was the boy she desperately wanted to find. But when she finally saw him,
Taki didn't recognize her. Mitsuha was devastated, and yet, she still left him something, her braided cord.
Taki had been wearing it ever since, without even remembering where it came from. Now everything starts making sense. Their connection wasn't random. It wasn't some meaningless dream.
Somehow,
Their lives had been connected across distance,
and even across time.
and Taki realizes he still has one chance. If he can reach Mitsuha in the past, he might be able to save her. The night everything changes.
Taki wakes up,
But this time, he's inside Mitsuha's body, and it's the day of the festival. The same day the comet is supposed to strike. He immediately understands what this means. Mitsuha is still alive, but she doesn't know what's coming. Taki tries to convince everyone to evacuate, but there's one huge problem. Mitsuha's father, Toshiki, is the mayor of Itomori, and he doesn't believe Taki's story. So Taki contacts Mitsuha's friends, Sayaka and Tessie. Together, they come up with a desperate plan. They'll shut down the town's electrical substation. Then they'll hijack the emergency broadcast system. If they can make the people believe there's a real emergency, maybe they can force everyone to evacuate.
it's risky,
It's probably illegal,
and if they fail,
hundreds of people could die. But Taki has no other choice. Meanwhile, Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body, and she realizes something is happening too.
for the first time,
Both of them understand that this may be their only chance to meet. They rush toward the sacred mountain.
and then,
As the sun begins to disappear, something incredible happens. At twilight, the boundary between their worlds briefly disappears.
Taki sees Mitsuha. Mitsuha sees Taki.
for the first time,
They are standing face to face.
No dreams.
no body swapping,
No phones.
Just the two of them. And after everything they've been through,
they finally meet. It's emotional.
because they both know this moment won't last forever. Taki gives Mitsuha back the braided cord she once gave him. Then they desperately try to write their names on each other's hands.
They need something, anything, a name, a memory, a reminder.
Something that will allow them to find each other again.
But then, the sun disappears, and twilight ends.
Mitsuha vanishes. Taki is suddenly alone. Mitsuha returns to Itomori, but something is wrong. She's starting to forget Taki. She can't remember his face. She can't remember his name. She doesn't even understand why she's running around trying to save everyone.
Then she looks at her hand,
And sees what Taki wrote. She expects to find his name.
but instead,
There are only 3 simple words. I love you. Taki couldn't write his name in time. So instead, he left her something more important. His feelings. Mitsuha's eyes fill with tears.
and now she knows.
Someone out there loves her. Someone is fighting for her. Someone believes she deserves to survive. So Mitsuha runs to her father. She convinces him to order an evacuation. And finally, the people of Itomori begin leaving. Then the comet arrives. A massive fragment tears through the sky and crashes into the town. The impact destroys Itomori. But this time, the people are gone. They survived. Mitsuha survived. And somehow, Taki's impossible connection with her changed history. 5 years pass. Taki has grown up. He graduates from university and begins searching for a job in Tokyo. But despite moving forward with his life, something feels missing. He can't explain it. There's a strange emptiness inside him. He knows there was someone important, someone he loved, but he can't remember who. He becomes obsessed with the Itomori disaster. He knows that something about the event doesn't make sense. A last-minute evacuation saved the town. But why? Why does he feel so connected to it? Why does he keep feeling like he's searching for someone? And most importantly, who is he searching for? Meanwhile, Mitsuha is also living in Tokyo. She has moved on with her life. But just like Taki, she feels like something is missing. Neither of them remembers the other. Yet their hearts haven't completely forgotten. And then, one ordinary day, everything changes. It's April 8th, 2022. Taki is traveling through Tokyo on a train. Mitsuha is on another train moving in the opposite direction. And suddenly,
Taki says her.
a girl sitting on the other train. He doesn't know her name. He doesn't know where he's seen her before. But something inside him screams, "That's her." The trains pass. And Taki can't let it go. He gets off. He runs. Mitsuha does the same. They search for each other through the city. Until finally, they find each other near the steps of Suga Shrine. They stand there, looking at one another. And for a moment, neither speaks. Because neither can understand why this stranger feels so familiar. But then Taki asks the question that has been missing from both of their lives for years. Have we met before? Mitsuha looks at him, and tears begin forming in her eyes. Taki starts crying too. Neither of them knows exactly why. But somewhere deep inside, their hearts remember. After everything, the body swaps, the distance, the 3-year gap, the comet, the disaster, the fading memories, they finally found each other. And as they stand on those steps, they ask each other the simplest question. The question that their entire story has been leading toward. What's your name? And that's where their story ends. Or perhaps, where it truly begins. Because sometimes, people can forget memories, they can forget faces, they can even forget names. But if two people are truly meant to find each other, maybe even time itself can't keep them apart. And that's the story of your name.